Hello everyone and welcome back into Crypto's News. It's me, Omar Bam, aka Crypto here, and excited to share the latest developments in cryptocurrency that happened over the last week. And really it's been a crazy week in crypto when it comes to the prices. I'm sure you guys are paying attention. And it was phenomenal for the fact that Bitcoin touched its old all-time high in USD terms. Granted, in inflation terms, we still have to hit $77,000 like we talked about in the last video, but it is nice to see that happen. And it did not drop off so much afterwards either. It looks like it's getting ready for another climb to touch that all-time high and maybe even surpass it. You're seeing alts across the board begin to pick up as people again are calling for alt season. So we're going to dive into that and some other news and developments. So stay tuned, guys, and thank you so much for being here. Let's start off by looking at the prices as we like to do here. So you can see the market cap, incredible. I almost can't believe it. Market cap, it's certainly not a market crap, but the market cap for crypto right now, $2.61 trillion, up 5.9% over the last 24 hours. You have Bitcoin dominance at 49.6%, Ethereum at 17.5%. And ETH gas prices are not in the 300 GUI region, but they're still quite up there right now. So it goes to show there's a lot of demand for transactions taking place at this time, a lot of trading occurring at this moment. So you can see that the Bitcoin price is $65,915.11. It's up 7.4% over the last 7 days. And yes, it had hit over $69,000, its old all-time high, hitting $69,012, multiple tweets talking about this coming out. And then shortly after hitting that price, you can see here, the price just dropped precipitously. It dropped over 10%. It went below $60,000 actually, before beginning to resume a climb again. So a lot of selling orders that were ready to sell at that old all-time high. I think it made sense. We've seen in the past that when old all-time highs are hit, there's a certain period of time before it actually breaches that level and it actually it takes a step back first for a period of time. We'll look at that in just a minute. But yeah, it's definitely showing strength. It didn't drop off, and there was a quite a support level. Even though it was low, we saw the prices recover back to around $66,000. Ethereum has had a better week than Bitcoin, up 13.9% over the last 7 days at $3,806.66. It's up 8.3% over the last 24 hours. And you're seeing altcoins just balloon here. Shiba Inu, we're so back, guys. Shiba Inu, sorry, is up 185.5% over the last 7 days. So certainly a sign that retail is getting involved here. I did see like a message from someone that I haven't talked to really in a long time pertaining to cryptocurrency. So it is a sign that there is more frothiness coming on board. You have Cardano up 15.8%. Surely that's not going to be left behind either. Avalanche has done quite well. They recently launched some sort of upgrade, but it's only up 3.5% over the last 7 days. So not one of the strongest performers. Wow, Polkadot 25.2%. Crazy. Also almost at its old all-time high. You have Uniswap up 43%. That is nuts. 21.5% over the last 7 days. We'll look at the reasons for that shortly as well. Bitcoin Cash, wow, I guess it's not dead, huh? It's up 40.9% over the last 7 days. One of the strongest performers here on the first page. So yeah, I mean, rallying across the board here. We had a scenario where basically there was a flash crash here that I just talked about for Bitcoin when it hit its old all-time high. And there was leverage on both sides, people getting wiped out. Those who thought that Bitcoin wasn't going to hit its all-time high and they set short positions got wrecked. And on the other side of the coin, the flip of that Bitcoin, those who were long Bitcoin thinking it would just breach higher past its old all-time high also getting wrecked. So you're seeing open interest across these shorts and longs. That also dropped precipitously, as explained here by Sentiment on Twitter. Total open interest on exchanges for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana have declined significantly after the Bitcoin all-time high earlier. Many other assets not pictured show similar drops. Open interest is the amount of unsettled derivative contracts, mainly futures and options, usually perpetual kinds of longs and shorts. So open interest for Bitcoin had dropped $1.46 billion, or 12% of open interest. Ethereum, 15% of open interest dropped, and Solana, 20% of open interest dropped. So this is interesting. In a way, we can view this open interest plummet as a sign that speculative excess has been temporarily removed from the markets. Assuming funding rates can even out, prices can theoretically fluctuate under less influence of futures and options positions and more on a true supply and demand market valuation from traders, investors, and hodlers. Though the trend of a high versus long short ratio is still persisting after markets retraced, dropped open interest levels can often precede funding rates leveling out, which would assist in cryptocurrency assets everywhere having a quicker rebound, which we have seen in fact. And I think it is interesting to talk about these derivatives as compared to the actual market, right? Because you have so much going on in actual supply and demand, dwindling supplies as well, where I think it's just stronger the case for these cryptocurrencies to the upside at this time for all these different things we've been talking about recently. And so less open interest, I think, will just catalyze the upward movement ever quicker. But surely this excess will continue to grow. I actually spoke to someone recently, I'm not going to name names, who had taken out a loan. It's happening already, guys. Taking out a huge loan they expect to pay off in a month or two, looking at how prices have been climbing, in order to buy Bitcoin using loans. Very risky proposition, of course, but he didn't buy right at the top either. He had bought a little bit back, I think $40,000, $50,000 Bitcoin. So that actually is working out quite well for him. We'll see if that does work out. But this is the kind of thing you see in a bull market. Those taking out loans, home equity loans, everything else, selling gold. And you saw like Peter Schiff recently talking in a podcast about that. He was talking about how you had many gold stocks and gold mining stocks that were selling off despite seeing gold hitting a new all-time high in USD prices, potentially signaling that investors are taking funds out of their gold ETFs and moving that into the newer and hotter thing, the Bitcoin ETFs. So that certainly could be an element for this gold 2.0 to actually be a thing, right? This idea of a gold 2.0. So Eric Crown, a trader I respect, and I've had on the show, I think 2 or 3 times. Some of you guys might remember him. Excellent YouTube channel. I always give him a nod here. I think he's a really great objective player in this space and doesn't really hype or doom very much. It's all pretty great analysis that he does. Eric Crown says, time from the first test of prior Bitcoin all-time high until new all-time highs. So what we're looking at here is the Bitcoin weekly chart going way back to the beginning, basically, of Bitcoin prices. And it just shows all these little candles. These sticks are 1 week periods. So it took about a week here in 2013 before when it hit its old all-time high that was settled right before 2012. In 2013, when it hit it took about a week before it broke to the upside and breached that level. And then it climbed quite a bit. So from $31.37 all the way up to $267.09. And then the next time that it hit that $267.09 after a drawdown from that point, it took another week before it breached that old all-time high, and so on. So the price went from $267.09 over to $1,209.07, and that one took a little bit longer. That one took about 8 weeks before it was able to breach that old all-time high. Then the next period he talks about here is the $20,000 level for Bitcoin, and it took 2 weeks before it breached that and hit the old all-time highs. So this is just basically giving a signal of how long you should expect, basically, after this drawdown before we breach these old all-time highs. And when we do breach them, it looks like the second time it does break to the upside significantly. So when we do hit that point, I would expect Bitcoin to probably jump straight almost to like, just thinking at least $80,000 in a short period there. But anything goes, right? That's just me talking off the top of my head. It could hit 70,000, 80, but I don't see it breaching, or rather, I'm sorry, when it breaches $70,000, it'll probably go toward $85,000, but could go anyway. I just do expect upside. I don't think it'll hit 70,000, go to $72,000. I think it will climb higher than that, and then it will reestablish $70,000 as its likely support level once it does break above that. So expect some sort of drawdown eventually, and then probably what I'm thinking is that $70,000 as a support would be a great place to buy in if you were looking for an opportune time after that breach. So I guess stay tuned for that, guys. That's probably going to be coming up. Yeah, it's great to be back in action, Rudy. It was. Oh, I met you in Acapulco. Oh yeah, that was so cool. Wu-Tang, huge Bitcoin buffs were out there, and they were rapping. That was fantastic. I miss those crazy crypto conferences, man. I haven't been to one in a long time. Good evening, Kevin. Nameless. Nameless stopped dollar cost averaging. I mean, you do your own, right? Because, yeah, in a bull market, dollar cost averaging might make less sense because the market could drop at any time. But I don't know. I don't know what's your reasoning necessarily for stopping the dollar cost averaging, but I mean, it seems like you were doing it for a while, Nameless, and you probably accrued quite a bit during the bear market. And now you can reap those gains. So not shaming that at all. ETH ETF implications, Andrew Katz. It's gonna drive ETH to the moon. It's like people are saying, basically, you're seeing Bitcoin hit these huge all-time highs when we have plus 5% interest rates. So imagine as interest rates drop, we finally get these Ethereum ETFs. You have all those parallels from ultrasound.money. We have Ethereum deflation, we have staking. I just think it's going to be climbing much higher. I can't even give exact price targets, but I'm hearing more and more of the community really expecting like $20,000 at the top here. At least that's what they were saying in the bear market. I imagine during the bull market, the number could go higher. It'll probably be like $30,000. But 20, I mean, those levels you set in the bear market, I think make more sense than when you're extremely like hyped up. You know what I'm saying? So I do think that the next year or two for Ethereum are going to be positive, and that kind of lines up with about 18 months for the bear market for ETH to really rip faces. That's kind of my thought here. All right, so let's continue actually. So we do have some more stuff to talk about. I'll take a look at the chat in a moment, but thank you guys so much for participating here. I have the chat up again. I don't know which way I'm pointing on OBS right now. I think is it this way? I don't know. But yeah, thank you guys for participating here. So BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF, speaking of ETFs, added a record 12.6 Bitcoin in Tuesday's carnage when the price hit that old all-time high and then went down and then bounced up. You had a huge inflow, more than ever before. Crazy volumes. They passed $3.6 billion price weighted versus the record high of $3.3 billion last week. Yeah, they gobbled up $778 million worth of Bitcoin. 12.6K Bitcoin in one day this ETF acquired. And that is insane. They are now at 183,000 Bitcoin, the BlackRock ETF. IBIT versus MicroStrategy and their treasury, which currently holds 193,000 Bitcoin. They've continued to buy and add on, but it looks like BlackRock is about to do that flippening that we had talked about, I think about 3-4 weeks back. And it's going to be happening very soon. I mean, they're less than 12.9 Bitcoin away from surpassing them, about 10,000 Bitcoin from surpassing them. So any day now, they're basically just going to gobble that up. It is kind of scary to imagine some of these huge players now having such an outsized influence because of their capital allocations in this space. And I do wonder what that will mean for like the decentralization of Bitcoin going forward and what development routes it takes. There's a really cool article actually on Cointelegraph about the Bitcoin halvening and what it means for Bitcoin mining centralization. And yeah, I think it's important to revisit this topic. We've talked about it many times in the past. Halvening, good thing, right? If you're thinking just simply like supply and demand, and you're seeing, you want to see the prices go up, right? But there's this other side of it where the halvening centralizes things in a smaller number of players, because the halvening means that there's going to be less of a block reward every 10 minutes for Bitcoin going out to the miners, and that makes it less profitable to mine unless the price literally doubles, which I guess it could, but it's not going to happen immediately. And when that happens, it means that smaller miners turn off their computers. They're no longer profitable enough, and many of them are not willing to foot the power bill and so on to keep their rigs running. So this centralizes it in a smaller number of players. And that could lead to issues when it comes to future upgrades for Ethereum. So this is explained quite well here. This fella Johansson telling Cointelegraph, the halvening will lead to hash rate volatility as miners facing higher operation costs and outdated setups will go offline. This will further centralize hash rate with large-scale mining pools operating with significantly lower marginal cost per hash rate, thus intensifying centralization concerns. So this is talking about those mining pools where miners might direct their hash power toward to in exchange for a share of the block reward that the mining pool gets. And so these big pools have kind of less personal overhead, I guess you could call it. They're not running the rigs themselves. They offload that to other miners who direct their hash rate over to these pools. But anyway, they become stronger throughout this process. Second, centralized mining pools could exert disproportionate influence over decisions regarding Bitcoin's protocol updates or changes, potentially skewing development in favor of their interests rather than the broader community. And they show some examples here where a Bitcoin developer, 0xB10C, reported on a number of transactions that may have been filtered out of blocks by mining pools. So this is possibly happening already. This could be due to the OFAC sanctions lists of individuals or entities that cannot transact in the United States. We're not allowed to. It's illegal to transact with them, so certain transactions might be blocked. And this just means that some of these transactions might take longer to be processed, but yeah, it is something to be cautious of course, as we go forward here, thinking about the ethos of decentralization for Bitcoin. I think this could play a bigger role in people's heads, thinking about which blockchain they want to interact with and so on going forward here. But yeah, certainly something not great for Bitcoin, I would say, to see it more centralized. Although it would be difficult to pass anything that would, they mentioned before, like what kind of solution would we have for this? It might be difficult to modify the mining algorithm or adjusting rewards to favor decentralization in some sort of way, because Bitcoin has become largely ossified, just like it doesn't change for security reasons or whatever. It would be difficult to get widespread community consensus given the Bitcoin maximalist reluctance to protocol changes. So just food for thought there as we move toward the happening here and talking about a different kind of angle of it, of course, to consider. So one of the coins that I had mentioned was up quite a bit here this week is Uniswap, 43%. So you might be wondering why. And the reason for that is because there was this temperature check that's taking place before voting that's going to be happening. I believe it's going to be going up the proposal for voting March 7th, although I think voting doesn't start to March 8th. But basically what it does is that Uniswap exchange will finally be giving out a portion perhaps of the fees that are paid to the exchange out to Uniswap holders who vote for governance proposals just like this one. So this is something that the community has wanted for a long time, and it has extreme support, it looks like right now. It passed with 100% of delegates wanting this, basically. You can see it right there. 55 million Uni voted in favor of this to get back those fees to the Uni token voters. So, and those who are delegated tokens in exchange for helping the community. So this is going to be, I think, fundamentally changing the token. There is the potential that this could face regulatory action, some are saying, whatever. But yeah, it's possible. And we have seen the Uniswap front end get, I guess you could say, regulatory attacks in the past. So we'll have to see how this is directed, but seeing that this is done in a more decentralized fashion with actual token holders voting, I think is something that kind of protects it from this kind of regulatory action. So that's why you're seeing this huge climb. Uniswap is actually not even over its old all-time high yet, so I think this is going to be one to look out for. It's a widely known name in cryptocurrency. And yeah, it's let's take a look here. Over the last 7 days, huge climbs up to $16 before coming down. But the old all-time high is over $40. You already have 750 million about of the tokens out of the 1 billion that will ever exist. So about 25% more of the supply will be issued, putting the fully diluted valuation at $15.5 billion. We're currently sitting at around 12.667. So it does look like an interesting play to me. And it has been climbing since like this came out, this idea for this proposal. Maybe this will get more attention from the community if it does pass, or as we get closer to actually passing it, and it would pump some more. And I personally don't have a stake in Uniswap. I have no plans, I will say, to take a stake in Uniswap right now. I did get the airdrop a while back when it first came out, and it was valued quite high, let's say. So it's quite a distributed token in the community, I'll say that, being probably the most popular decentralized finance application out there. Let me know what you guys are thinking about Uniswap. Is it a buy, hold, or sell at this time? I would love to know, and I'm sure you guys would love to as well. Crypto Queen's brother. So you might remember the founder of OneCoin, this cryptocurrency that came out in 2015, managed to get it came out in Bulgaria, over $1 billion that was raised for this. And OneCoin was charged with money laundering and fraud. They were trying to be the new Bitcoin. Then you have the founders, right? You have Ruja, the crypto queen Ignatova, and her brother Konstantin Ignatov. And he was arrested. He was caught. She has escaped, nowhere to be seen. And he was sentenced to some time in jail pending good behavior and compliance and so on. Basically, he ratted out the lawyer of OneCoin, who was sentenced to 10 years in prison. He only spent 2 years and has now been released. He also gave up $118,000 of the funds he made while working at OneCoin. He took full responsibility, they said, for his actions at a hearing. He was emotional. I can only blame myself. Still have trouble looking into my own eyes in the mirror. The last 5 years were a very painful period in my life, but I'm glad for the lessons I've learned. Anyway, Ruja still, I know we've talked about her in the past, and there's multiple documentaries about her, but has yet to be seen or found. And she is on the 10 most wanted fugitives list on the FBI. She's right next to kidnappers who kidnapped 16 people asking for ransoms, murderers, someone who murdered his own wife a day after murdering her. And it's kind of silly, I guess. This is the only real financial crime that you're seeing here, but it goes to show how much they want her. It says that she might have had surgery, plastic surgery, or otherwise altered her appearance. Yeah, duh. So she's probably out there still fine. And they have a video here promoting OneCoin at the London event. She even at one point compares it to Bitcoin. How the media says she's going to displace Bitcoin.
The best and
let me see.
Who is supposed to be the Bitcoin killer? Well, I must say I like it. And you all know, since we mined our first coin in January 2015, our growth exploded. Sebastian and Kari showed us the numbers. Today, over 2 million users. Users means active users. Our database has easily more than 12 million entry points. But this 2 million...
I don't know. It just feels like since they came out in 2015, they were popular in 2016. I don't know. It feels like they should have come out in 2017. They would have been hidden a little bit more amidst all the other crazy projects that were touting their daily active users and so on. She was before her time. She was ahead of her time. We'll give her that much, I would say. Although there were coins, of course, that came out before 2016 that were not Bitcoin in 2015, like Mastercoin and so on. But yeah, she was ahead of her time for a scammer, we have to say. Anyway, I will finish here with our quote of the day. Wow, this is crazy. We have a good amount of viewers. We're climbing again. I'm so honored that you guys trust this show for your content, or at least show up to see what are the main topics. And that was a lot of what's been going on. A lot of excitement about the prices. We're going to be heading, not really news there, and a lot of greed and a lot of people now hearing about what's going on. The media beginning to catch on to the attention. And I think this is about to get wild. So try to keep your heads on, guys. It gets difficult sometimes to not make rash decisions, but there are ever more ways to get scammed. AI scamming folks, ads that look like Michael Saylor trying to give you an airdrop on YouTube with his exact voice. It's a troubling time. I have trouble myself just recommending it to friends and family. Like when I started, it's despite the SEC out here, I don't think we're very safe to be interacting with many of these things and recommending it to everyone. So just try to, like, you know, as people come up to you and tell you, hey, what do you think about this coin? What, like, you know, try to temper expectations, try to keep them grounded, and try to share your experiences that you've had through the different cycles. So hopefully they don't repeat it. Anyway, here's our quote of the day. Related to what we talked about with Peter Schiff and gold prices. Juan Galt said, "Gold is the history of money, not its future." Let's give that a like there. So thank you guys so very much for joining me again. For joining me again. And I will catch you the next time. Take care, much love, and stay cryptic. Peace.